it's a little difficult if we were able to, I forgot how the question put it, but basically see beyond mere parts of the brain lighting up. I think we might still have the question of what is it doing? Is it sort of forcing us to do something, or is it that which activates when there's something else causing that to happen or causing us to do something?
Oh, I'm sorry. Was it double? Was it for both of us? It was. Okay. I don't really know how to answer that question effectively, because it seems to me that if we had the capacity to, I guess it depends. I mean, if the question is, do we have the ability to read a mind, you know, but only under certain conditions? So if we put them into a machine in a controlled environment, I think that would reveal a lot about human nature. But if the question is if we had the capacity to read each other's minds at will, I really have no idea what that would do, because I mean, that's not how we're built. We don't do that, and morality developed based on what we are, and reading minds is not what we're able to do. So I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that question. I'm sorry.
Okay, again, the remaining three questions are actually for both of you. So, first one, if a person evolved to believe that survival of the planet is more important than the survival of the species, and another evolved to believe survival of the species was more important, how would you know who evolved right?
Well, I would just simply hearken back to the point that human value and human worth and human dignity has to be extrinsic, and that's just the simple way I would answer that question. That's not to say, hey, let's destroy the planet. It goes nowhere near that. It's just a point about human special and extrinsic human dignity and worth.
Well, obviously, the first thing I'm tempted to say is I think most of us agree that it's prudent to have respect for the planet. A neat concept that's becoming popular now, it's actually starting to make its way right into academics. I think actually one of the professors from this university is writing a book about it as we speak, about environmental ethics. And a lot of people are now adopting this idea that ecosystems, even though they're not conscious beings, deserve to be treated as moral patients, because so many conscious beings depend on an ecosystem. Then if we harm an ecosystem, we can't help but also harm sentient beings. So I think the answer to the question is maybe we'll change in the future, but for now we have to admit we're self-serving. Every creature, I mean, I find it hard to believe that if an animal attacked any one of us, that we wouldn't try to defend ourselves, and if it meant killing the animal, then that would be that, right? So I think everyone is self-serving ultimately, but I think, again, what it boils down to is we also have the capacity to rationalize, and we can make cost-benefit choices as well as react emotionally to things. So that's how I think we should look toward the environment and recognize the greater importance. Nothing special.
Okay, second from last question. This is for both of you. Does the nature of morality change over time? If something was acceptable 2,000 years ago, can it be unacceptable now?
I would state that let me put it this way, and if I have to backtrack, I will. The spirit of the law, of the moral code, is the parchment upon which the letter of the law is written. Okay? So it's the absolute is the moral standard itself. How it's applied, and this may be a problematic term, but that is what is relative. That is where we have to come with all our abilities and make the moral decisions. So the parchment itself is the absolute. But the letter of the law, the letter of morality, it has to be written upon that absolute. So the nature of morality, exactly. The nature of morality, no, it doesn't change. Does our recognition or applications change? They may very well.
Yes, it does. We evolved from previous species. We share common ancestors with other primates. All social animals have codes of conduct. All codes of conduct evolved. They were adaptations based on specific environmental pressures and the mental capacities of the specific creatures at the time. So, whereas chimps, depending on the specific type of chimp, and whether if it's a bonobo, they withhold sex from the males. If it's a chimp, they beat each other up. If we're humans, we put each other in prison. Yes, morality changes based on our capacity to understand concepts that other creatures can't, and that we in our previous forms probably couldn't back then. So yes, it does change.
Okay, this last question can require some deliberation, but I think we can handle it. Is it necessary to have a beard to be moral? Yes.
Well, it seems to me rather apparent that it's readily discernible that the very ontology of this question derives from last night's St. Patrick's Day celebrations. So the answer is, if you're that uptight, then yes.
I don't think there's any moral issue, but since I have the opportunity, instead of calling me Grizzly Adams, how about Socrates?
Okay, thank you.